Good evening. Welcome to this marketing roundtable at the Jaipur Bookmark. We've been asked to discuss the veritable topic about the hubs and the spokes of the wheel. And I'd like to begin by reframing what we mean by marketing in publishing industry today. So give me a minute and bear with me. I'd like to take your thoughts towards the fact that for a long time, marketing was treated as the last mile. Something that happened after a book was written, edited, printed, priced. Promotion, visibility, noise maybe came much later in the day, and that's it. But that model no longer holds, in my opinion. Today, marketing is not the last mile. It is the connective tissue. It is the hub that aligns editorial intent, sales reality, retail behavior, media narratives, and reader communities, in my opinion. If we think publishing of as a wheel, the spokes are many. Retail, sales, publicity, social media, newsletters, SEO, author platforms, formats, language markets, each spoke moves at its own speed. I feel, however, what's written on the paper is not the reality that we go through on a daily basis. And here's the risk. If one spoke moves faster than the hub, the wheel wobbles, like it tends to. And if the hub is weak, no number of spokes can save the journey. We are also operating in a very different cultural environment post the pandemic. Content today is infinite. Attention, unfortunately, is fragmented. AI has accelerated output, but I don't think as much as the trust that it should have gained. In this environment, credibility has become the rarest of rare currencies, which means communications and marketing are no longer about amplification alone. They are about trust, coherence, timing, and long-term discovery. The session brings together voices from retail, sales, independent book selling, publicity, authorship, and agent-led innovation. And my role today here is to moderate, is not just to moderate, but to connect the perspectives into a shared operating system for publishing. I hope we leave this room not just with tactics and fluff, but with a clearer thinking about how marketing truly works when the wheels move smoothly and when it doesn't. Let's begin. I think I'm going to start by addressing the veritable elephant in the room. And I'm going to ask all of you all to jump in and answer this first question before I individually take it on. AI is now embedded across the publishing and marketing landscape. How are each of you in your own particular roles using it, not just for efficiency, but to rethink how books are discovered, how trust is built, and where human judgment still matters the most? Saksham, would you like to start?
I think author websites have been vilified in the publishing industry for the longest time, but they made a comeback because of GEO, generative engine optimization, where you are able to drive visibility to your book through AI. So there are many models. So as an agent who is advising authors on how to increase visibility for their books, that is a segment that we definitely try and target and take a look at to make sure that their books are being recommended by LLM models and so on and so forth.
Rahul?
Hi, thank you, Akriti. So you said besides efficiency, currently the most active role what AI is playing in our daily life is bringing efficiency. Operationally, in terms of, and because we belong to such large house, 50,000 active titles on sale any moment. And we are into school and fairs and institutions and now the speed, if a school is asking that I want Assamese literature translated between 1980 and 1990, thanks to AI, that's very quickly possible. So aligning the data towards the discoverability when people are searching, they're asking us, or they're searching on Google or asking AI. So that data alignment is the work on which we are trying to work. We're trying to do that because I know that's where it will bring it is the most handy use of the AI in current scenario. Yeah, that's where we are.
Thank you. Rachna?
So in my case, because I primarily focus on publicity and reaching out to the media and so on, my use of AI is more towards for efficiency, but also I think doing a lot of research and pulling out a lot of data and material that can just help me pitch a book better. So I don't use it as extensively perhaps as Saksham does, because I don't get into the SEO and all those models. I work with someone else for that. And of course, I don't work with a publishing house, so mine is limited to that extent.
Nijesh?
Well, as a bookstore, right, a publisher, an author, they've given their take on AI, but as a bookstore, I feel that AI should never take over the discoverability part. We need to understand that when a reader walks into a store, he may not be a reader, he's just walked into a store. So how can he be converted to a reader, a first-time reader? A second or a third-time reader, maybe he knows what to buy, how to buy, but a first-time reader is where the human intelligence of a bookstore will come to play. So I believe that a bookstore goes beyond AI, because an AI will help discoverability, exposure to a publisher or an author, but as a bookstore partner to publishers and authors, we should not be defined by AI. And at Sapna Book House, we take all that it takes to ensure that we have good displays, we have easy walk-through aisles, so the discoverability with the human intelligence of training our staff, the curated led shelves make life easy for a first-time reader. So I strongly believe that bookstores, the relevance of a bookstore in today's age and era is all the more important because it breaks AI. It doesn't really want to encourage a lot of AI at the physical bookstore level.
That's a good point. Anirudh?
So for a relatively small and young publishing company like us, most of the emphasis on AI is generating data, research, and a lot of content, at least the first drafts for the marketing support material is made by using AI. But as far as you asked about the relevance of the human being in this, so again, we can't do away with the human touch completely, because the auditing of whatever is produced, because you have the LLMs hallucinate extensively at times. They come up with stuff which doesn't even exist. So that's where the human being and the expertise of the human being comes into the picture. So that's pretty much where we're using AI, but we are.
Perfect. Ajay?
I can't help it. Sorry, that's a private joke. Anyway, I think in the context of the current conversation, I would redefine AI as author intelligence. If you just go back to the 4 P's of marketing, I think an author does a lot of hard work, a lot of smart work to create the first P, which is the product itself. And then to kind of extrapolate that same intelligence into marketing, you must get real. But hang on, before I continue, I need to make a point here, right? HarperCollins has recently published 2 of my books here, and whatever I say on this panel is purely...
Subtle plug.
It's all professional, it's not personal. So you have to give me that mandate, Ajay, we will not go back to the HarperCollins office and hold it against you, whatever you say today.
Oh no, it's all outside of this store, so don't
All right, great. Okay, so coming back to, so the other intelligent thing that the author has to do is realize that their publishers have limitations. If you are a best-selling author, they will do a lot of marketing for you. But if you are a startup author, right, you have to be a little real about things. Yeah, use technology, use social media, use whatever, but intelligently, and you have to be your own marketeer. So for me, AI is author intelligence at across all the 4 P's of marketing.
Fair point. Well, I don't agree with what Ajay is saying, only for the reason that we publish a lot of debut authors in a year, and the sort of support we give them is unprecedented, and that's why they go on to become bestsellers and award winners. I get your point, and I respect it, because of course it's I think, as we're literally talking about the hubs and the spokes. If we're all not in that sense aligned, from the retail to the consultant to the sales head to somebody who manages social media so well and does the SEO, we'll not be able to make the book or take the book where it needs to be. So I mean, completely agree with you.
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
If all publishers had the kind of bandwidth that every author demands of them, I would be out of work.
There you
So,
go. There you go. Thanks, Rachna.
But we'll keep writing.
Of course, as you must. I actually want to start with Nijesh. As Sapna spans retail, publishing, e-commerce, events and podcasts, what acts as the hub that keeps the wheel aligned in your case specifically?
I think it's very simple. The hub for us is the reader. Everything that we do revolves around the reader. If we choose the hub to be something else, we would not be having the right wheel for a bookstore or a chain of bookstore to move. So it's a very important question though, because many a times in the entire ecosystem of book selling, where different stakeholders are involved, right from the editors to the end reader, many a times people in the middle forget that the hub is actually the end user, which is the reader. It no longer belongs to, hey, I'm a publisher and I need to be thinking from a publishing standpoint. Or, hey, I'm a bookseller, I need to be thinking about a book selling standpoint. But if the hub is the reader, then I think we're all aligned to have a good industry, and the industry will move forward. So for us, in all that we do, be it e-commerce, be it retail, be it publishing, be it author events, be it children events, or the newest edition, the podcast, our focus is how can we serve the reader, which is the hub.
No, fantastic you bring that up. I'd actually like to bring in Rachna here. We're talking a lot on the back of community and the activation, as it were.
Right.
Community building has become an integral part of marketing today. How do you assess its real impact on conversion, loyalty, and long-term discovery from a marketing standpoint?
Okay, can you repeat that? Because I'm
I'm
thinking
basically
of
talking about
back to-
community
yeah.
activation and how do you assess its real impact on conversion, loyalty, and long-term discovery of the book?
So I think community building leading to long-term relationship eventually translates into conversions, because when you build those long-term relationships, those are the readers that really become your advocates. And we all know without advocates, you really can't make a book a success. So that becomes really, really, I think, the heart of any kind of marketing activity. And we've seen a lot of that community building happening in recent times. You've seen a lot of book clubs coming up. You've seen a lot of these kind of communities being built by authors over a period of time. There are a couple of examples I think that I have where it was purely community based, author sales really worked well because of the kind of community that they had. I worked with Rujuta Divekar, and we know that the kind of community that she has is what worked really well for her. I think Ankur Wariku's first book came about because of his community. I also recently did an event where I put together 5 debut fiction authors, and we tried to kind of create that community, that kind of discoverability, and that led to a lot of people buying those books, it translating into sales on ground.
Okay, so Saksham, I have my next question for you. Since we're on the topic of community, I'd just like to take it forward and maybe make it a little more online and digital focused. What role do you think does SEO and long tail search realistically play in book discovery today, specifically in terms of YouTube, Instagram, because that seems to be your forte,
I think we undervalue the role of SEO. It's obviously not just circumscribed to Google. It runs across the different platforms, and it's a silent builder, honestly. SEO is something that I particularly use for my authors, and I've used for my book as well. So there are tons of underexploited keywords on top platforms where, debut fantasy authors, Indian mythological books, where, my book continues to rank, and that's just slow burn, low budget indexation through Amazon Marketing Services. So it's not really a lot of investment. It's just identifying those keywords. I've worked on books during my time at in publishing houses where authors have specifically chosen a particular title after identifying it as one that has high search volume on larger platforms. But SEO and GEO for that matter,
Sure.
and when it comes to the social media platforms, is playing an increasing role nowadays. It won't spike sales, but it will give your book longer shelf life.
Okay. Rahul, I'd actually like to bring you in here. I mean, from your perspective, as somebody who's led, some of the biggest campaigns from a sales perspective, when do you think marketing genuinely enables sales, and when, in your opinion, does it remain cosmetic?
Cosmetic is important, right? So I'll come back on that.
Okay.
But I think where there's what works is gives the kinetic energy to the campaign. That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what moves the needle
The
in your
moment
opinion?
marketing starts speaking the language of the reader, right? That connect is very important. You must have seen the current trend where they are saying that, okay, human touch is more important than the polished finish of any campaign, right? What that means is that has to be hyper, now across the products, the marketing is becoming hyper local, right? They're using local languages, like we have published, Tumhari Auqat Kya Hai, Piyush
Yeah,
Mishra,
of course.
right?
Yeah.
Very wonderful title, worked very well. So you have to speak the language. The moment marketing achieves that point, the acceleration comes. Also, the acceleration happens when you see the first spark, how many different places you activate simultaneously. So if like one book, mid-list, not very high expectation from anybody's point of view, but you suddenly see that in say western part of the India, everybody is talking about it.
Yeah.
So that and the decision to put more copies in the market, more POS in the retail, calls to the retailers to say this is happening, you can talk about it to the customers who are coming and asking what is new, and at the same time social media and the author. All of them together, when they put the energy, the spark converts into a far bigger thing.
Sure.
That's how it happens.
Okay. Ajay, for you, from your perspective as both a bookseller and as an author, what on-ground real-world actions genuinely move the needle on discoverability?
So, see, it's the first time I've published many books before, but they were all self-published. It's the first time I've got two books almost simultaneously out, happen to be with HarperCollins, which are geared for the mass market, both from a reader potential as well as a distribution possibility, because there were limitations when you self-publish books. And it's early days because Charlie's Boys came out last month, Nikita has just come out a few days ago. But if I see like a few things that have worked, and if you kind of can extrapolate those, one of the things is we keep coming back to community. And one thing that I'm personally working on, because it's worked in a small way, is build a community, but build a community of super fans. When I say that, now have a certain set of people who are your champions. Whether it's 50 people, 500, 5,000, 100,000 over time, that does not matter. But they are your first responders. Whenever you put something out on social media, they are the first ones to respond. They are the ones who are the first ones to buy your new book. They are the first ones who will also talk to 4 other people. When you do an event, then they keep coming back. The second thing is, like, I'm going into these books, and this is what I'm telling authors also. In fact, there's another author here, we were having a little conversation before the session. I said, go into it with a long haul mindset. It's not a movie for the theater where the first weekend and the first week makes or breaks it. We can be at it. There are Jane Austens selling after hundreds of years even today. Why are they selling those? So keep at it, keep talking about your books online, offline. And the third thing is, and this is an analogy I'll take from a famous tennis player, I don't remember his name, who mentioned that they said, how do you win your games? He said, when I'm playing tennis in a competition match, I don't look at the championship or the match or the set or the game. I look at the next shot that I hit, not even the next point. And I think the same analogy can be drawn here, that don't say, okay, with this promotion will I get 100 readers? No. look at one reader at a time. Because one is, in mathematics, is infinitely greater than 0. And that when you keep adding those numbers, like 1 becomes 3 and 3 becomes, you make that chart. So I think these are just some of the things that come to mind, and for everything else, let's go on a retreat.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
True.
Very good point. Anirudh, in your first answer to your first question was all about intuition and data and how you balance it via AI. What I want to know is, how do you balance intuition and data when you're deciding where to invest your marketing energies for your books?
So with a total experience of 3.5 years, we don't have a lot of organic data for ourselves. So most of the decisions that we are taking is either data that is available online or available with the consultants. So it nilly-willy happens that most of the decisions get taken by intuition or the experiential understanding of the team that we have. I have almost zero experience in publishing 3-4 years ago. There are some very good people that we have who have experience and who come from large publishing organizations. So using their experience, so far most of what we have done is little data-based, but more intuition-driven. Sometimes we have succeeded, sometimes we have fallen miserably short of what we wanted to do. But that's how we are learning with every step that we take.
I think as a follow-up to that question, I'd like to understand from you, what have you learned about scaling discoverability across multiple titles simultaneously and not just one key marquee book? Considering, it's a smaller list and a tighter.
It's a very small list. It's compared to you guys, it's microscopic in that sense. But the what we have learned it the hard way, like almost everything that we have learned the hard way over the last 3.5-4 years. We started bang in the middle of COVID, so that start itself was very auspicious in that sense. So one of the things that we have discovered about the discoverability is that instead of having standalone efforts driven behind a particular author or driven behind a particular title, it makes a lot of sense, and we started trying it over the last year and a half to create a micro ecosystem of a particular genre, I would say. So let's say if we are publishing some relatively well-known authors in the history space or in the cultural, civilizational space, it makes a lot of difference to new authors who we kind of launch along with these other books. The momentum created by the well-known authors also takes along the newer authors, and that's how we are able to give a lot of breaks to some of the new authors. So that's primarily what we have learned, and we have tried to implement, and we are doing. Again, we're succeeding in some places, not succeeding somewhere else.
No, of course, you win some, you lose some. Nijesh, I actually have this follow-up question to you. What does discoverability per se looks like for Kannada or regional markets today? And what can English publishing, sort of exchange in terms of notes between regional and national publishing?
So one good thing about regional publishers is that they are first community driven before they really go and hit the bookstores. Yeah. Now what I mean is that when a book is to be launched, you first write the book, go to the publisher, get the book published, book comes to your hand, and then you start marketing. Yeah. That's the general trend, and 90% of the English authors do that. Now that works when you're a second time author, third time author. Sure. But when you're starting off, the regional publishing industry is known for building trust within the community first before they really put their foot into writing and publishing. Sure. And we've published about 8,000 plus Kannada titles, and I would say that 40 to 50% of them are new authors. What they go about doing first is, before they reach out to us for publishing, they would have created that small niche around them by doing some workshops, by being quite vocal on social media, by visiting schools, colleges, doing some talk shows, getting feedback from people that, hey, this is what I'm about to write. What is your response to this? Incorporating those feedback and then releasing the book. Sure. So when the book is released, the author has already a limited or a little bit larger audience for himself or herself, which works wonders.
Sure.
Because the end of the day, how much ever a bookstore tries to, put the book in the front display, it is the author, and I'm sure that you would agree, the author has to work a lot for himself or herself to promote the book. So what English authors could learn, in my very limited and view, is that the regional authors work around community building before they get to the so-called, hey, cool, I'm an author. It's a very cool thing, I'm an author now, I want to, But then when you get your book in your hand, promoting and doing marketing after the book is launched, right? You're wasting time because books are being generated on a daily basis, the SKUs are very large. So I think this is what, to a large extent, look at Tamil, look at Kannada, look at Marathi, which is very large. Look at the imprints of Marathi.
Of course.
Right? Your print runs of Marathi language, you would probably know when you do your translation. It's very good, excellent, because they have their own community, very proud of their community. Their pride is there. Right? I want to first serve my community. I don't want to, go to Delhi Book Fair or probably come to Jaipur and promote my book before I go to my community and promote it.
No, you're right. So earlier today, Shreya and Anant were in conversation and they were discussing about Ram Care of Anandi, which actually was initially published in a local regional language, and then, we sort of acquired the rights for the English book. And obviously
continue to do well. Think that when a local, regional, vernacular language book has met its success, English publishing houses, right? And they pick up those, right? Yeah. They already been given that kind of push,
of course.
Right? So it gets all the more easier and better for English. Yes, you reach a mass with English publishing houses, right? But that trust between a reader and the author, undoubtedly a vernacular author can do much better than an English author.
Yes. Okay. Saksham, actually, I would like to take cue from that and pose a question to you about the post-algorithmic world. How should authors think about discoverability and ownership of their audience, in your opinion, and what maybe makes their book work?
I'm not sure about post-algorithmic, but it's definitely post-trust in algorithm, because authors in my agency are increasingly not relying on the algorithm alone. I think they know that there are potential pitfalls when one does that and relies on the algorithm alone. I mean, you've got platform risk, which is the dangers of being on just one social media app. You've got the algorithm changing faster than ever, organic reach fluctuating, which is why the narrative that I'm always trying to drive within the agency is build ownership and not attention, right? Because you get attention through one or a few viral reels, but it is owned channels that actually gets you leverage. And examples of owned assets are, of course, and the great thing about owned assets is you get free party data, which is where readers are voluntarily giving you, data. So you've got obviously email lists, you've got newsletters, Discord channels, Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups. Even, having a good connect as an author with distributors and booksellers is another own channel that you can look at. And I do believe that publishers are great at distribution, but it is the authors that have to own community. And I think the healthiest models that I've seen within the books that I've agented are the ones where publishers have championed and published a great number of books, and authors have gone ahead to try and double down on the visibility through the algorithm, and then further cemented that using communities and own channels to cement readership that sustains over multiple books.
No, good you brought that up, because that sort of ties in with both the points that you and Ajay were making. And I think that's what Ajay is saying, that he's building super fans, as it were, his first responders. Any learnings, Ajay?
Akriti, I just wanted to add to what he said.
Yeah.
What he's saying is that all of us are saying that the authors have to do certain things.
Yes.
They have to be a certain level of smart, connected, community builder, multiple things. And that is connected with the previous conversation we were having.
Yes.
You know, the what you call as the cosmetic,
Yes.
right? These two things are connected. Author has written the book. Anything else is, if it's coming from him, it's great. If he is not giving it, it's also fine. I will not hold to him that because you have no ability to understand SEO, or you do not know how to socialize, or you do not go out, you don't have media behind you, you don't have friends, then you are not useful for us. That's not the case at all.
No, of
That's
course.
where the hygiene of the publishing house comes into play. Hygiene, I mean the cosmetic things, the basic that will happen with every book. And as publishers, we should take that responsibility. We do take that responsibility. So that is very, very important. I just wanted to be very clear on that.
So, sorry, I just wanted to add to that. In fact, Ajay and I were just talking to Santosh Desai, and one of the things we were talking about, and to add on to that, you know, I mean, there are authors out there who don't have that ability to, you know, go out and do that. So his question was, why are publishers not the influencers? So it kind of loosely...
Publishers are influencers because publishers are also making their community, and publishers is a wider community because look at the variety of books that a publisher is publishing.
So,
right? So much bigger
I mean,
community.
considering
We'll
we
come to the
publish,
we'll come to that in the wider conversation.
I mean, obviously, he's representing a brand that publishes many, many books in a year. And considering authors can champion their books, you know, diligently and in a focused way is what I think we're trying to refer to, and I was trying to ask Ajay, that, you know, an author-owned channel will dedicatedly promote and champion the book that's just come out. And you've obviously mentioned that, you know, you're a proud author of two so simultaneously. What, in your opinion, has been that's worked from your perspective as an author?
I think it's something what I said earlier. Just keep talking, number one. Number two, I think one mistake that we should not make when we are doing communication is making our content advertising all the time. I think what we need to do is have conversations. It's like if we are all sitting in the Zoom, I will not start saying, okay, here's an extract from my book. Next thing, okay, you know, here's the look at the pretty cover. That's okay for a few promotional posts. But what
It has to be human.
But what we need to do is like build conversations.
You have to have the hook to basically be able to read people.
Yeah, and I was like kind of building a kind of a content grid for myself a few days back because I'm building my own marketing plan. And I think there were different content buckets. One is the very direct, what I just said, okay, which is directly about the book, in the book. Okay, you talk about that, right? But then there are other facets that have to come in. For example, if people want to read me, right, they should know that I have an expertise as a writer. Then I start sharing tips on what makes me as a writer. What's my background? Why do I write? The processes I follow. What works for me? What doesn't work for me? You know, you bring that in. If I've written Charlie's Boys as a memoir, right? Then I bring the human angle. Like even incidents, events that are not in the book, I talk about those. Like I made a post which resonated quite well recently that I could have written this book. Like I passed out of school 38 years ago, right? 37, yeah, something like that, right? I could have written this book anytime. But I could write this book only at this age and stage of my life. The book that I wrote, I've been trying to write this memoir since 2010, right? But it took a certain bit of a evolution within me to be able to write the book in the current manner. So when you talk about that, you know, then you kind of again start resonating differently. Then you start bringing in like other facets of your life. Okay, don't say, okay, you know, I went to my birthday party at blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't believe in all that on social media. Sure. So I think these are some of the things, and I think respect your audience's time. Don't just kind of keep giving them irrelevant stuff, right? And in fact, I was just reading a little feature on Lee Cap the other day, and they said that almost nothing is known about him personally because what he posts out there is Lee Cap the artist, right? And that's what he focuses on. So people don't know, like, you know, what brand of shoes he's wearing unless they see it in public or blah, blah, blah. He doesn't talk about all that. He says, I'm the artist, talk to me about the artist. The only thing known personally about him is the age of the girlfriend of his.
Rachna, I'd actually like to bring you here, and because as you mentioned, you work with a lot of publishers across the board, across different topics and themes and books. Can you give us an example where community-led engagement proved more powerful than traditional media, and how do you see the balance evolving in the publishing landscape in the future?
Okay, I think I already mentioned Rujuta Divekar, and I also mentioned Ankur Variku. I think those are two very clear instances where it was community.
Deep dive into how did the campaigns perform better with the community support?
Okay, I mean Rujuta's was quite a while ago, so we'll have to go back to it.
Rachna, can I ask you one? Just one
sure.
thing I want to add here, because when we are saying community, there is one community which is community of parents. For us, for a lot of publishing hub, large houses, 1/3 sales is coming from children's books. So when you are commenting, if you can include anything that comes to your mind, which works for that section of, it's a very important part of business and as well as marketing. More challenging marketing part than marketing for adults, because it is for children.
Okay, so the only thing is I haven't really worked on children's books for a very long time because it is one of the most challenging spaces, and it's something that I really do keep talking about, that we need to build a community of parents in every city, in every school, everywhere, who really champion books. And it's not just one particular kind of book, but it's just reading per se, because it's really, really important, and something that Mandira and I had actually thought of doing, starting workshops to really get parents to understand the importance of reading. So I don't know whether that really answers your question even remotely, Rahul, but children's books are the most difficult, and because I primarily look at press and PR and publicity and events, I haven't really managed too many, but you've given me something to work on and come back to you on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
I had something to share on the community
Yes,
part.
please.
So, what I've begun to realize is, while the author has his or her own community, a publisher is trying to drive the community for the author. The reality check from a bookstore point of view, and I'll be very candid here, apart from a very few large publishing houses, and HarperCollins included, many big publishing houses do not support bookstores in building the community. For example, if I talk to Rahul, I say, hey Rahul, this is the author we want to bring to Sapna. I've got my marketer with me, Natasha is in front of me. If she has to speak to Rahul and say, I want this author, HarperCollins exception, right? I'm being very candid here. They support. They say, okay, let's speak to the author. Let's get the author down to the bookstore, right? Because a bookstore, the survival of bookstore is on authors and publishers' support.
Absolutely.
Right? But many other big houses, right? They don't do that. So my question to the house, especially to all the other people here, is why don't big publishing houses go down to the route of community building for booksellers, and why is it that booksellers have to depend on themselves and authors have to depend on themselves to build communities? It has to be the hub and the spoke that you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
The spoke has to move together. And if this conversation and this platform is used to really bring that out, it should be taken very seriously by many big-time publishing houses to really ensure that the spokes of the hub move together, and it cannot be a single-play option where, okay, it's only left on the author, or only left on the publisher, or only left on the bookstores.
Can you
No, I'm
please
glad.
add?
Sorry. Go on. No, I was saying you're talking about building communities. I am talking about building readers.
Of course.
That's really important, and that then in turn you can convert to communities.
No, I'm glad that you brought that topic up, both of you, because we've actually just 2 days back launched a year-long campaign, which is Read for, a year of reading for pleasure. And it's literally, a 3-pronged approach of read to, and read along with. Yeah. Inculcate the habit of reading literally from age 0 as soon as you can, and you're able to start with picture books, and then you gradually, sort of...
And that will happen at a bookstore level.
Yes, of course.
It may not happen on a digital level.
Of course.
It will happen physically with parents and the children walking into the store and creating first-time readers, for which bookstores need to be supported by large publishing houses.
100%. And that's why we've actually partnered with Sapna in Bangalore, and we've partnered with a lot of indie bookstores, because that's where your crux of the audience is, and that's why it's not going to be a one shot and a miss sort of a campaign. We're doing a year-long campaign where we want to do activities through the year which encourage the habit of reading, and it can literally start with 30 minutes of reading, right?
So I run the Silent Book Club. We meet twice a month.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple concept. It's part of a global community of almost 2,000 chapters. And the idea is very simple. People bring their own books and they come together for the joy of reading.
Absolutely.
And, I've had many people just join to see what it is and say they've come back to reading. There are people who brought in friends who've never read a book, who slowly got into reading. And I think that's what it needs. It also needs a community to build communities.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd like to bring you in, Anirudh. And my basic question is that as you work across different geographies, there are obviously different trends that, a varied set of best practices that one needs to inculcate in book marketing and discovering more meaningfully with the community that we're talking about. Which patterns and trends seem that hold true for you regardless of the market that you're promoting your book in?
So one most powerful tool that we have seen for us, which works across zones, so we are mostly distributing within India. So in whether it's south or west, north, one of the things which comes across very clearly is that authors with large communities and with large ability to reach their readers tend to do much better in terms of not just sales, even the longevity of long legs of a book. So something which was released initially when we just started about 3.5 years ago, still keeps on selling because the author is able to connect to his community. So I can't probably stress or support more than what they have already said about building communities. That's very important to get the communities to come together and bring the reading habit back. And that's something which will have a multiplier effect. I mean, it's 1 + 1 will become 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to work.
Absolutely.
So for us, what's really worked across geographies is the author's ability to communicate with his community. That way.
Okay. Rahul, from your perspective, how has quick commerce shaped the launch and sales performance of major titles that we published last year? Namely from Chetan to Amish to Veerdas to, Gaur Gopal Das, including same day or near instant delivery on publication day. And I'd like to add one more question about looking ahead. What role do you see quick commerce playing in the future of book discovery and sales?
Quick commerce is the most exciting new thing. It is adding, people are discovering at the moment, right? It is very heavy on the impulse purchase, right? And I don't think so far people are not expecting that any book they will order and they will get in 10 minutes. That's not going to happen. So, and this 10 minutes is also going away. I think it's becoming 30 minutes now, which is good. I like that. Nobody's in an urgency to take something in 10 minutes. You can't go and buy yourself. So 30 minutes is fine. Less pressure on people. Sorry. For important books, when it is, and publishers are experimenting. So when it comes to the brand authors, right, like Chetan Bhagat, as you said, or where some very big influential person like Prajakta Kohli.
Sure.
The moment it is available in 10 minutes, it definitely is incremental sales. And because they are also new as a platform, say for example Blinkit, they are new, so they are also trying to show that their consumer base that you can now order this category also. That's one more tick box for them. But I'm waiting for the time when, and they work through the dark stores, like every 2 kilometers there is a store, that kind of arrangement. So it's very obvious that they cannot store all the books. And because it is impulse driven, so I think low hanging things where they don't have to use their brains, like if there is a new Gaur Gopal Das book and everybody wants to read it, if we are showing them enough number of times, they see it on their timelines and they see some review and some influencer talking about it, if they follow the person and they see on QuickCom platform, they will immediately buy. That will happen. Second part of kind of sales that is going to happen is the gift market. Suddenly you have to go to a birthday party, and for a kid you need something very quickly, you can order. The classics in the gifty format, poetry, so all gifty, beautiful looking books, under a certain price point that will be decided. And these kind of things will, I think, benefit. That's the first batch of beneficiaries of books which will get advantage of quick com. And then we'll see how it plays out. It has just started.
Okay.
That's where it is.
Saksham, what do you think in your opinion and your experience within the digital marketing experiments, as it were, are genuinely working, but what versus that is overhyped maybe?
Well, you're spot on about the fact that the digital marketing experiments are working. Over the last 2 years, publishers have easy access through Helium, through Amazon Top 100 charts, through Nielsen data, a better understanding, and increasingly better understanding of spikes in sales. So you'll suddenly see someone crack into the top 100, and then you'll go and try and get to the bottom of what has led to that, and you'll eventually, in my experience, ascertain that it is a particular trend or a pattern that a lot of authors have been using of late, especially in the self-publishing space that make quick transitions to traditional publishing houses. But I think in addition to that, what is working as opposed to what isn't working is author-led narratives, not just author announcements. I often, for my book Samsara, meet a lot of readers that want to discuss my time in Mussoorie, which was an inspiration to the Magical Valley in my book, or sometimes almost teasingly say that, hope you won't take another 10 years to write the sequel, right? Reminding me that they do remember of the narrative of the time that it took me for the 10 years. And I think that has worked brilliantly. Is what we do is we try and identify narratives that are true and bring them out clearly and make sure that that is clear. It's not just announcements, it's you're trying to push forward certain narratives that stay for longer. Another thing that I mentioned before is building communities, not just online, but also having a deeper connect with the distributors and the bookstore staff. I was lucky enough when I had just published at Penguin to get support, and one of the sales heads helped me connect with several retail chains where I could talk about my book and the staff there, and that drastically carried forward a lot of different things. And interestingly, another thing that I remember before the pandemic when I was in Penguin is we were talking about bookmarks and whether or not they work. So last year we ran this little experiment with an independent online company called Bookish Santa, where they did a controlled experiment. They printed approximately 5,000 bookmarks of Samsara with a QR code and targeted them in books that are in a similar genre to be able to track whether or not we'll actually get scans from it. And it worked out brilliantly. And since then, I felt like publishing over time, I may be wrong, has stepped away from bookmarks, but me and my authors thoroughly enjoy capitalizing on that little gap that I think has, because people are exploring newer strategies and sometimes budgets aren't being allocated to bookmarks anymore, so we're being able to fill that in. Another thing that's worked really well and has worked for me as well is book fairs, and not just the World Book Fair or the Kolkata International Book Fair, but also independent, private-led book fairs where we are able to talk to readers. I think a lot of people that I meet in terms of readers are individuals that I've connected with in person, and I do remember a lot more of the readers that I'm just getting messages from in DMs or emails about the book, so that also really, really helps. But I think overall, it is, as was said earlier, about a shift in mindset where we're not just looking at marketing at the publication stage, but at the acquisition stage.
Yeah.
And I work as an agent in that capacity as well, where we're positioning before the first word is edited.
Can I just add on to that? So whenever I work with, the authors that I work with, if they're in India or if they're visiting India, whether or not there's a book signing or not, that's something exactly that I do ask them to try and do. Go to bookstores, go and meet whoever is, managing the stores, meet the owners and so on, talk about your book.
Yeah.
Because that personal connect is also very important. And for, there's so many books out there that it makes all the difference when you do that.
No, fair point. My next question is for Rahul from a publisher's perspective, but Nijesh and Anirudh and Ajay from I mean, Nijesh and Ajay, from the perspective of a retailer, what signals make you confident that a book will travel across channels and geographies?
That signal I get at the time of acquisition,
Huh.
not publication. So when it is being discovered that, okay, let's publish this, that's where I see the spark. Has been fairly spot on, but
No,
that's what-
I mentioned it from the perspective where you said that, sometimes medium range books all of a sudden will do well.
Yes.
And that will, sort of take you by surprise.
Yeah.
What are the signals there?
Sales. Sales is like if it's something is selling, that's the signal. I don't know. I mean, should I say something else? Something I called Ajay or Nijesh and say how this book is doing. It's doing very well. We were not expecting. Send me more copies. That's the spark. Maybe I'm not getting sorry about
No,
it.
I was just talking about will it travel across channels and geographies, not just
It does. So the moment something starts, first call I get that is from say an airport store. Immediately you will see, okay, what this book is. If it is fiction, is it very much focused in a certain geography, and you channelize all kind of energies in that area. So you call retailers, you call distributors, you say you call somebody in your team to say that, okay, on Amazon what is happening. Airport display, can it be enhanced? Every retailer, every institutional seller, send in mailer a reminder that kind of reviews it is getting. You activate everything in that area and then expand it in rest of the market. So that is what
is your first indicator.
Yeah, that's how the first response is.
What about you, Anirudh, from a publisher's perspective?
So, I mean, obviously the sales numbers
Yeah.
are so if the initial call from the distributors and the initial call from actually just the interested public in saying that, okay, hey, we saw the book at the airport, seems to be, people seem to be interested in that particular book. So that's a great indicator. The other indicator that has worked for us, again, it's very small time and very small data set, is the fact that that the authors' social media podcasts or the conversations that they have, the amount of likes that they're getting, the amount of views that they're getting.
I was actually asking from that perspective that,
So it
from
gives us-
marketing to sales, what that journey, how does
that
it...
gives a very good idea of, and again, in some cases...
Likes also come after the sales. People buy and then like.
In some cases, the author has already had a long run on social media, and that's when you pick up that
Yes,
author and you publish that author. You already know that this is going to... And
Sure.
we have a few cases where we knew that if this is done well, if this is produced well, it will go all India, and it went.
Sure. Nijesh?
So this is out of experience running the bookstores. Before the sales kick in, as Rahul and Anirudh ji said, before the sales kick in for us, we need to put in effort towards display, towards curation. Sometimes the books discoverability is less and it doesn't really do well. But the minute you give it good discoverability, the minute you give it good display, you give it good traction, information to your staff that, hey, as a reader, when someone comes to you and say, I want to look at a thriller book, this lot is something that you could, look at selling
Correct.
to the customer.
Yeah.
So I think before the sales part, as a bookstore seller, we need to be very sure about how we curate, how we display, and how we inform our staff. That's number one. Number two is that the support that we need to be getting from authors and publishers to build the community. Now here, not to again bring controversies in the picture, but I'm being again very candid because this is out of experience. We require authors and publishers to not only talk about, hey, I'm an author or I'm the publisher, this book is available on Amazon.
Yeah.
This is what is happening.
Yeah.
As specifically new age authors who are internet sensations, they say, they go all out, they've got millions of followers, buy this book on Amazon. I respect Amazon. We all know that they've been able to achieve areas where booksellers are not able to achieve in terms of last mile delivery. But they should also be saying that available on Amazon, great. Also available at your nearest bookstore.
Yes.
Also available at a bookstore's online channel.
Yes.
If it's Sapna, available at Sapna Book House,
Yes.
available at sapnaonline.com.
Yes.
This is where the community gets even more stronger. Today, it's all moving towards the mass.
Yeah.
And like when Rahul said sales, your top selling titles, your top authors will cross boundaries with Amazon.
Sure.
What about the ones who have just started out?
No,
What about
absolutely.
the ones who are in that middle between being the best-selling author versus just starting out.
Absolutely.
It is when publishers come up, authors come up and say that available at this. I'm available. My books are available.
Sure.
It's not just about Amazon.
Absolutely.
And people should get that right. And if this platform is holding meaning, it should pass on. This message should pass on to many authors and publishers that you should look at different ways of marketing, and each bookstore, be it Crossword, be it Sapna, be it Kunzum,
Yeah.
right? It's available there.
Yeah.
Available at Sapna online.
Yeah.
Also available at Amazon, no
Yeah.
problem. But this is a very important task.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because, I don't know if I'm sure you have, but every video book trailer that we make, that's exactly the last signing off message which says available wherever books are sold. Any pre-order, any book that goes on pre-order for us, it has a link tree which has not just Amazon but the entire list of indie books, participating indie bookstores. So that's always been something that
for the record, I definitely appreciate HarperCollins.
Yeah.
And this is on record.
Yeah.
But it's not the case with other major book publishers.
I can take custody between the both of us. We
Yeah.
can
I
only
know
be
that.
custodians of the
But
brand we are
other
representing.
big book publishers in India,
Yeah.
the top ones, which
Yeah.
are in the same parallel level as HarperCollins,
Yeah.
should take this up very seriously.
No, absolutely agree with you.
So I'm just talking across publishers. So, my biggest challenge also tends to be authors. A lot of authors do want to support bookstores. I personally want to support bookstores, but by the time we get around to knowing where the books are available,
Yeah.
the time has passed to
Yeah.
really make those announcements and all. And we don't have any option but to redirect people to Amazon, therefore, rather than specific bookstores, especially with a lot of debut authors. That tends to be a challenge, and we all know that. So perhaps that's a gap that somehow we can cover, where we at least get a list of bookstores, or I get a list of bookstores that I can work with the authors on to just kind of even visit, in addition to just promoting on their own socials and so on.
Oh no, 100%. But that's why I said that, when we do, when our books start out and when the campaign goes live on a pre-order of a book, it's never in silos. It's never just this or that, or just online or offline, or just this one bookstore. Because as one of the largest book, publishers in the country today, we have to work with everybody. We rely on the prowess that you all have in your individual capacities. We cannot work in silos, and that's exactly why we create that link tree. So we actually reach out to Rahul and his team, and they talk to all of the, the retailers that we work with on a daily basis. We get their pre-order links, and that's what goes as part of the link tree. Ajay, to you finally, the same question. What do you think are the first indicators, and what makes you confident that the book will travel across channels and geographies?
Well, for one, we are part of the geography, right?
Of course.
So when something that you and Rahul and everybody else in marketing and sales does, we are one of those markers. So we don't kind of, we don't do trend spotting like that. But at a micro level, I think some of the indicators that we work with one is, of course, the moment a book is announced, what's the offtake? Because we also take, we don't have a full-fledged e-commerce, but we take orders on a tiny Shopify site or WhatsApp or phone calls, and also some of the stuff that starts coming in. The other indicator is because we host so many book launches and book talks at Kunzum. I think at last count I was estimating we do at least about 50 to 70 just book events a month at Kunzum. I think one of the indicators is who's the audience.
Yeah.
It is just your family and friends who are sitting with that sour face that, okay, why am I sitting here, right? Or they're actually genuine customers or genuine readers who are kind of thronging the room. When I say thronging the room, it could just be 30 people.
Yeah.
Or it could be 120
but if they're
people.
serious, dedicated readers, you've actually, like we were correctly, we've discussed this previously, the difference between 0 to 1 is exactly that many more readers, right? So 30 readers is a lot. Yeah.
There is one more indicator, right? And that's a very important one. That indicator is, before you release the book, announce it, readers already know about it.
Yeah.
Right? So there are certain books for which, before the spark comes here, I get a call from somebody in the trade and retail that when is this book coming? Yeah. That's another very, very strong indicator, and what plays very important role there is the advanced publicity. When the author 6 months before the publication start talking, somebody in media talks about it, somebody discovers a picture on Amazon, or somebody sees it in the next year's catalog. So that ecosystem also plays in the background, which gives a very good indicator. But mostly I've seen, it happens with the kind of books which are anticipated. So the big ones often get that benefit.
No, of course. Sorry, you were mid-thought.
Yeah, so basically, these are some of the indicators that we get, and then, like I always tell authors, because they keep coming to us, and every author, whether they're a self-published author or whether they are published by a Penguin or a HarperCollins, right? Everybody, comes with those little puppy eyes, please keep my books, and we want to and make me a bestseller. And I said, look, the easy part, while there is an administrative hassle, especially if you are a small press or a self-published author, there's a little administrative hassle. But I said, look, the easy part is keeping your book on my shelf. The tough part is who's picking it up. Right? And if the book doesn't, if the books don't start moving, and then that's the other thing I tell authors and publishers. I said, look, if I stock your book, and especially if you are an independent or a self-published author, right? I say that you have to make the effort to direct people to Kunzum to pick up the books. Otherwise, you'll just leave the books here and nobody will be the wiser. And I said, look, and your competition is the other 100,000 books in the stock that we have. And people, even an ardent reader, will probably read 2 books a month. They're reading 24 books a year. Why should yours be one of the 24? Right? So, there's no formula for this. Right? I think we just have to rely on your gut. And call me 6 months later, I'll see what happened with Nikita and Charlie's Boys, and I'll tell you what works.
A year later, maybe the same round table, you tell us how did it perform. But Rachna, coming to you, how should, not just publishers, booksellers, but in your opinion as a marketer, should we be thinking about newsletters, book clubs and long-term engagement? I mean, so that it's not just a hit and a miss and, maybe like a 2-month wonder sort of a thing.
See, all of them at the end of it are a form of communication. Sorry. Yeah, thanks. No, I was just looking because I did take some notes about what I wanted to say, so I was just looking for those. Just give me a second, please. Yeah. So, no, I just wanted to start by saying that newsletters certainly do have their place and do work, because I got to know about HarperCollins campaign when your newsletter dropped in yesterday. So, and there were a lot of things I wanted to say which you've already covered in that campaign. So, thank you for that. So, yeah. So, I think the purpose of a newsletter is what, every publisher needs to think very clearly about. As a reader myself, if I want to discover books, one of the challenges I face in this world of so much of information is, I have to subscribe to multiple newsletters to really try and figure out which is the next book perhaps, or what new books are coming out and so on. So I think really perhaps more of a segmented kind of newsletters, that are interest-based and all, I feel would work really better. Okay. So HarperCollins, for example, you have your Harper broadcast, you have the newsletter that comes out. But if I want to find one book of interest or something of interest, I have to really scroll down a lot of times because I may not be necessarily interested. And how do you really go through 10, 12 and so on? And I know many genuine readers don't even subscribe to those newsletters because they discover books elsewhere. Yeah. Right? They discover books, mostly it's word of mouth, it's book recommendations, it's someone who's reading something similar to you, what you're reading and so on. I actually ask authors also, someone who asks me, and I'm kind of digressing, but it's again, Substack, for example. Yeah. Someone wants to start writing on Substack and so on. I tell them to think very, very carefully if it's something that's really not out there, if there is a new idea that bringing to the table, or what is it that they're really going to get out of it, and also that it's a long-term kind of a game. And it's eventually, everything is a personalized discovery experience, right? So how you view it, how you take it, what you get out of the newsletter, I think it has to be a little more personalized. And when you're talking about, I think that's how you'll possibly also build that loyal community of readers, that readership that is not just, of course, advocating books, but also specific kind of books, building again those communities within that kind of genre. And I think we've already talked about building new readers as well. Yes. So yeah, so book clubs I think you've also asked me about, and I think we've already mentioned that earlier, that I think it's very, very important to really nurture book clubs, which again I read that is something that you're planning to do. Yes, yes. Because instead of just having them work in isolation, struggling, why not just bring that community of readers together? Because at the end of it, that's what we're all working towards, right? Reading and books.
Okay. Saksham, if I was to ask you the same question, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, we've discussed communities, and I think every one of us has touched upon how they're super important, but particularly for me, right, as someone who is juggling different roles and also working on his second book, it is the community that has allowed me to recalibrate occasionally, remind myself that I have a role as a writer as well that I have to build. And the great thing about books that I have learned, where I think the publishing industry gets a little bit of an advantage over other industries, is that when you're trying to drive visibility and then trying to further cement that visibility through own channels and communities, you need not do it through isolated or just one handle on one platform, right? So for example, you can have different areas. So, I mean, I've identified different topics where I talk about the scriptures, and I talk about fantasy writing, and I talk about publishing, and we understand that even with online marketing, it's tricky when these tend to sort of step into each other, and it confuses the algorithm quite a bit. So I'm able to demarcate communities and center in on them and actually dive into the specificities, which leads to further deepening of relationships with the readers. So I've got a different handle where I've got a community around scriptures, and I don't talk about publishing as much there, but a different handle where I'm specifically talking about samsara and the readers that I've been lucky enough to have, and so on and so forth. So that is something as well, which is that communities, unlike the other aspect that we were talking about, which is the algorithmic world where we are trying to get visibility and remarketing, and bookstores are contributing drastically to as well. For communities, it's the complete opposite, which is where we're not targeting large numbers, but we're trying to form deeper relationships, and that's a lot easier in publishing as opposed to other industries, because we're being able to, I'm being able to drive visibility and form communities around samsara in different niches through different handles.
No, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because at Harper, that's exactly one of the things that we keep doing. We have, so appointment viewing, as it were, where that these are the readers' interests and that we are trying to cater to them. So we have specific handles. So we have a Harper fiction handle, a Harper non-fiction handle. Obviously for children's we have the HCCB handle. We have something called the Harper design, which only caters into the, the cover and the designing of the cover and how it came to be. Rahul and Anirudh, I have a question for you about innovations in formats, pricing or packaging as a publisher. What are you most excited by right now, and how can marketing help translate those into sustained value and stronger price realization?
I'm usually excited, So I find something to be excited about. Because I work in books. You have so many, something will be there that you can feel excited about. But in terms of format...
pricing or packaging? I'll tell you why I've asked this question. Because a lot of people I've met have been talking about how well produced Harper books are. And that's been a, sort of a running sentiment of how well, sort of they're taken care of. It's good to know, but, it's always a happy thought to know. But,
Very happy. Thank you for saying that. They are very well produced. That's it. High five. But in terms of packaging, the new trend that you see in the market is the gifty, pricey, good-looking deluxe editions, as you can call them, special edition. They are the trend.
Okay.
And this especially fantasy books. They look like they as a fantasy book should look like.
Okay.
Youngsters are very much interested in that.
Absolutely.
If you give them a boring looking, interesting book, but boring looking in paperback, which is you have to, sacrifice some money to keep them at a certain price, you give it to them, they might not take any interest. A moderately interesting book, but very nicely packaged, it looks fantastic and it's super expensive, they will love it. That's the trend if you ask me. So I'm very happy with that, because that means there is a part of our market which is price sensitive. That's the truth, you can't go away from that. But also the new readership is developing, which is more interested on the novelty side of it, on the how it looks, how it is produced, how much, and these are mostly the repeat readers. If I have read one book which I really loved, and I read a simple paperback edition, but if it is available in the hardback and a bigger, more premium edition, I would love to use that for gifting. So that market is emerging. That's a very heartening thing for me.
Sure.
Other is also that the box sets are becoming quite popular now. Best of 5 books of some author, a complete series and stuff. That's also there. And spin-offs, all of that, a larger book, some stories collected from that in different forms. All of those format changes are working. Audio is super good. Sadly, our market is not that developed at the moment. It's not very big, but it will grow. So I'm a huge fan of audio. My 80% of reading has moved to audio. So that is there. And those are the things. So, and the pricing, you asked me about pricing, because people are here from the industry. Prices, I think, we are still underpriced. Prices will go up because the input cost and they look at where the pounds and dollars are going. So prices we should brace, yes, the prices are going to be up.
Sure.
We should stop complaining about that.
And to answer my second question, which was how can marketing help you substantiate that? All the 3 things that you touched upon, from trends to pricing to formats.
Marketing can help, which is the very basic ask from the marketing, that you generate demand by speaking the language that your reader or the end customer speaks and understands. That's all.
Fantastic. Anirudh?
So right now we are very clearly focused on doing the basics right. It takes some couple of decades to get to where he is speaking from. But there are 2 formats that I personally resonate with a lot and would like to see them come to the fore. One is, of course, getting as many graphic books, not necessarily fiction, even some parts of non-fiction where you can, it's been used extensively in the past in military history, even Indian military history, to create a situation where the attention span of the existing readers can be catered to, and you can use that graphic format to get to as many people as possible. That is one thing that I am very excited for, and the other is, of course, the audio part. And what I would like the marketing team to do to push these things across is to create messaging which makes the reader aware that not just any title which is probably a pure just a tome of pages and pages of the written word is probably coming in a graphic version, and people can look forward to it. That's
I think the marketing also starts the moment you acquire the book.
Correct.
At the time of acquisition, if marketing is along with you, you will get everything right.
Correct.
Later you will have to explain that, okay, you were not part of the acquisition, but I'm telling you what the book is. That's not the case.
Yeah. No, that's why I said marketing is no longer the last mile.
Yeah.
It starts as soon as
from
the
the
book
beginning.
is,
Yes.
Yeah.
That helps.
I agree with that.
Nijesh, actually that also applies to you from a regional book publishing perspective. What do you think in terms of formats, pricing or packaging are you most excited about right now, and how do you think marketing is going to sort of help you in that sense?
Formats are the ones, pricing
and packaging.
Okay. So one thing about regional pricing is it's far lesser than your English books, and which is where the packaging really is important. A lot of regional authors do a lot of combos, specifically long-term authors who have more than one book. This really helps in the way book selling takes place in the regional language. So specifically because they are lower priced books, most of the books in regional category are paperbacks, unless they are very legendary books, something like S.L. Bhairappa or Kuvempu. Those are all do very well in hardbound because they are more like antiques which you have to own in every household in Karnataka. So new age authors, they are looking at paperbacks, they're looking at more or less, I wouldn't say that anything is moving more pictorial. It's still a lot of opportunities there in the textual representation of stories in fiction, non-fiction. And a lot of business owners are also getting into writing in the regional language. So that is something, that's a new trend that we've been able to see. Professionals who want to bring their experience out, they are writing a lot in vernacular languages. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for vernacular languages. Regional publishers are doing well on that space, and it's also helping them getting translated to English as a language because of the price points, because of the very niche writing skills that they get put on the table.
Thank you. I see a few hands raised already. First question, I think, is with Chintan. Can we start taking the audience questions, please?
I would love to hear from you what kind of skill. I would love to hear from you what kind of skills you look for when you hire marketing people. Because the marketing people that I look for, that I interact with as a journalist, I often find that many of them are not readers. They may know how to sell, but they don't read, and it shows. A good marketing professional always is excited about the book that they're reading. They communicate their enthusiasm about the characters and about the subject to a journalist. People who rely only on ChatGPT to compile talking points are not able to convey that enthusiasm. The other is, since I write a lot about LGBTQI plus books, I'm wondering why the idea of communities doesn't extend to that. Like, I don't see publishers partnering with venues that do drag nights, or people who offer mental health services or health services to the LGBTQI community around some of these books. Like, why reach them only to book influencers? Because if you should reach people where they are.
Are those both the questions for me?
No, not just
No, I'm asking who do you want answering these?
Let people decide,
Please decide.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot.
Oh.
On a side note, Kunzum has a section called the Q list.
I know.
I can take your first question because we're a large team which is very unprecedented for, publishing industry, as it were. And I can assure you that one of the things and the core values that we look for in possibly, the brightest minds that are sitting here, and I proudly say so, in this room from HarperCollins, are avid readers. They not only read their books, they champion them to the best of their core and their abilities. There are times when I have to actually tone it down because there are just so many ideas. And in fact, we have dedicated books and lists that cater to exactly what you just mentioned. But I would like the others to sort of come in because,
So I'm assuming the question is more towards a publisher or an author, but if I have to speak from a bookstore marketing point of view, yes, we look for people who love books, who read, but that may not be the only criteria from a bookstore point of view. Because as a book selling partner, we need to be looking at a lot of things apart from just looking at promoting or marketing a particular book or a particular publisher. So our marketing involves across different aspects like ATL, BTL, social media, in-store staff, information, so all of those things. So I think from a bookstore point of view, it works a little different, though our marketing head, she's a very avid reader, but the team may not necessarily be readers, but they should have a very creative mindset to know that marketing is not just selling, it's about how you can connect to the human emotion.
Yes. absolutely.
And Chintan, we also work with the groups who are not on social media and are not influencers, but they have their own set of people with them, but they are not visible. So of course you will not know.
Any
But we
other
do work
question?
with them.
Gentleman here, please.
I have to say, confess first, I'm a first-time author. I've written my first book at the age of 76, and I'm a book of poems which I fully expected to sink without a trace, and I had no regrets about it. I had got the book out in the open, that's about it, but very surprisingly, it has gone round to US, Mexico, even Argentina, and Northern Europe, Oceania, Southeast Asia. So no, basically what I'm saying is, now very unexpectedly it's gone around, and I don't know what to make of it. Okay, it's entirely online, and it's listed in a lot of bookstores, but does that really mean anything? And what I, as a total innocent in this world, am I supposed to do? So this is what I'm throwing to this panel. If you could kindly advise me what I should do. I have all the rights to it. It was self-published. A book of poems called The Wind in My Face. Yeah, and if you...
you can speak with me right outside after this. I can give you many ideas. I know what the kind of help you need. I can give you some tips.
And if you speak to him...
Thank you so very
And if
much.
you speak to him, it'll probably come down to us. So your online will become offline too.
That's getting better and better.
There you go.
Thank you
lady
so
there.
much.
On the one, yeah.
Hi, I'm talking from a very Gen Z point of view. This generation, they consume content via reels more than books now.
Yeah.
And when they are picking up a book, it is because they like the influencer who's written it. So from a publisher point of view, it's great for business.
Yeah.
But does it come at the cost of quality literature? That's my first question. My second question is, for example, Prajakta Kohli. She will bring in a lot of first-time readers. Are these first-time readers or are they only one-time readers?
You'd like to take it?
I was only saying, I pray they become regular readers. So more Prajaktas are good for business.
I
not
think I
bad.
can just answer the first part of your question and I'll let somebody else answer the second question. Where you talk about quality literature, the whole idea that Rahul and I and the rest of us are in business, and the fact that we're year on year doing well and we're performing year on year clearly means that there is quality literature that is being sort of given out to the readers who are following as diligently as they are. If they weren't, and if it was not up to the mark or not up to the standards, they would be looking out. The fact that local publishing is doing so well year on year, the fact that the books are packaged not basis the stature that you bring, but the content of the book, and that's the stress that we have. In fact, a lot of times when Rahul and I and the other members of our team, are sitting in acquisitions meeting, that's primarily the conversation that's being had about the content, as it were, and that's literally the king. For the lack of a better word, and if it wasn't, then there is no quorum for it to sort of go through.
So I'll just take that with a different angle. It's good to be reading literature, but it's not bad if you're a first-time reader and you're reading something as simple as a Chetan Bhagat, right? As long as you're reading. So if you're first time as a reader, you may not convert to a literature reading student or a literature reading person in your second or third book, and you may continue to read books like Prajakta Kohli or Chetan Bhagat, but eventually, right, the industry doesn't only move because literature is selling. The industry is an ecosystem because there are different genres of books which are meant to sell. So if we focus less on, hey, I'm a reader of literature versus, hey, I'm a reader, full stop, right, then the industry has a very secure future. So if you are a first-time reader, it's absolutely okay to start off with very simple reading, and then eventually, if you like literature, as in how you grow yourself as an avid reader, great. But if you want to continue reading as a pastime, as a hobby, as something that puts you to sleep in the night, which is also great, but reading is important.
Yeah, gentleman there, he's literally stood up.
getting published this year, one of them by HarperCollins. I don't have a question. I'm going to seek each one of you out separately, but I just want to say this has been a great session for me, and I've learned a lot, and thank you so much.
Thank you. The lady here.
My question is, I mean, anyone can answer it, but specifically I would like Ajay to answer it because you talked about building super fans, and all of you talked about how important it is for a new writer specifically to have a community. And I'm a writer, I'm an editor, and I'm also trying to be a content creator recently because I've also realized how important it is to build that community out. But as I am going on this journey, I'm realizing that content creation in itself feels like a full-time job. Like you have to ideate everything, research what your people want, come up with ideas, film everything. I'm in fact filming right now. I'm vlogging my experience here. So it almost feels like it takes away a lot of my time from writing as well. And I do see it from the perspective that yes, I need to market the book whenever it comes out, and I have that perspective. But somewhere I feel like it just takes up a lot of creative energy. So how do you balance it out? How do you balance your writing with the community building?
I think since the time is up, I'll answer it quickly, is do two things. One is kind of put a method to the madness. See, content creation does not need to be a full-time thing. If you actually make a calendar, you say, okay, these are my content buckets, and you actually probably create content in bursts. Okay, I'm going to sit once a week, I'm going to create content for the rest of the week. It's going to take about 3 hours, and it's done. The second thing you should do is at every possible platform like this, hold up your books and say, please go and buy my books. Thank you very much.
On that note, thank you. It's been a fantastic last 90 minutes. It's been a great panel, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.